Alright guys, I did it. What you're watching right now is a time-lapse footage of 2 hours of me figuring it out on stream, trying to finish the equation, and I believe I succeeded, at least for a first version of it. So the main challenge was incorporating all the probabilistic variables and also the variables that quantify human need. I'm just going to go ahead and read off the whole thing to you, and I might share the link to this document in the description. The document lists all the variables and also has the main formula up at the top. I wanted a description of the formula in sentence form, and the one I came up with is still a bit wordy, but here it is. The probability of reaching my goal is a result of the following. A result of my decisions out of all possible decisions, supplanted by my own application of scientific method, multiplied by the effort and time to execute those decisions, meeting the needs of body, resources, joy, love, and freedom of both family and studio members, plus the gains of all studio products, minus the risk of the studio's intended products SPR and JLP. All of this divided by the set of all possible results. Alright, so what I tried to do was incorporate every single element of my mission statement. And I was able to quantify even some of the more abstract elements like joy, love, and freedom. I realized that all of these are some way of arranging or exchanging resources. So the human body, being a machine that needs to be sustained, has very simple needs: food, shelter, etc. So the next part is resources. That includes every element of the equation E equals mc squared. So that's like energy, matter, time, and space. All those things are usable resources. And that sort of encompasses nearly every practical thing we can gain in this universe. I think joy is something very subjective, kind of like when a doctor asks you what's your pain rating from 1 to 10. I decided that joy could be a subjective evaluation of one's own happiness on a scale of 0 to 1, with 0 being like the worst suffering of your life and 1 being the happiest day of your life. Uh, on any given day, we are somewhere from 0 to 1. And personally, I don't think it's natural for us to be at a 1 all the time. So when I put effort into increasing happiness, I should be working to create a generally decent rating, a life that minimizes suffering. I was also able to quantify love. However, I personally have a very specific definition of love, and I have a very Catholic way of describing it as to will the good of another. So I would define it as actually an exchange of resources, a giving of resources. So I ended up defining different types of exchanges. A giving of resources might be love. A trade of resources might be something like a purchase or a product or even just a barter. And one can also take resources like theft or even simply destroy resources. So in each of these types of exchanges, the human would either benefit or be hurt by it. Now, freedom I was able to quantify by defining it as access to decisions. I don't think freedom lies on a scale of 0 to 1. Rather, I think that having more freedom means being able to do more things. For example, someone with a jetpack who can fly around probably has more freedom than me. He can go catch a bird or something like that. So, those are all the elements of the list of needs that need to be met by effort. I also wanted to quantify what makes a good decision and how I can approach making good decisions and figure out how to express that in a formula. I wanted all of this to fit in a probability equation, so it's all going to be a fraction. So the fraction is all the decisions that I choose to take, supplanted by scientific method, divided by all possible decisions that I can make. And a subset of those decisions is the correct decision. And I defined the correct decision as something that can only be observed as correct in hindsight. Ultimately, I feel that's what scientific method is. We're trying to discover axioms and rules of the universe via trial and error and looking at results. And it's decisions that decide how effort will be used over time. And so all of that put together creates a result, and that result is divided by all possible results, which in turn creates a probability. So to summarize, I created a formula that describes how I want to approach life, to use scientific method to figure out all the things I could do to reach my goals and meet the needs of my family and anyone I will be working with. Now, there is one final thing I wanted to put in the formula, which is luck. Luck, for the most part, is something out of our control. Things that you can't choose, like the parents that you're blessed or cursed with, the country you're born in, the weather, stuff like that. The universe, being the source of all resources, just throws things at you, and it's hard to predict what it will throw at you. But if it gives you good things, you ought to collect them and use them well. And there are specific things that are very constantly and consistently being thrown at us, like sunlight, for example, which can be used for good as well. Now, all this might seem kind of silly. I'm using math to try to figure out something that's very common sense. Maybe you can hardly even call it math. I'm using abstract concepts and I'm trying to, I guess, apply logic to them. But what I want to do is plug in the inputs into Microsoft Excel, the inputs being my decision making, my effort, and all the needs that I'm trying to meet. And like once those are all plugged into Excel, I feel like I can look at calculations and numbers that I wouldn't be able to otherwise. It's essentially a first principles breakdown of achieving goals. Now, something like this might not help you, but I love it. I'm really proud of this, and I think it's really going to help me come up with creative solutions because I have very difficult goals to reach. I know this one was a bit longer, but I'm pretty proud of what I accomplished today. And honestly, I didn't think I would be able to get this done within just a few hours over the past couple days. This is also only version 1 of the model, and the universe has a lot of RNG. I want to have something that takes all that into account. And maybe also an improved version of the model could be something that is a little bit easier to understand and usable by my peers. So that's it for today. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you all tomorrow.